Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of Water and Beyond. This is about transformative partnerships that the EU is developing around the world, and that's why we have so many different kinds of people with us over these 4 days. We are in an intense 4-day search for how we can find solutions for how water can play a key role in development, in creating jobs, in saving the planet, and also our health in the process. Yesterday we talked a lot about, among other things, a lot about finance. Today we're focusing on jobs, on employment. We'll have 2 main sessions. We'll have 2 breakout sessions. We'll have a focus on water and development, job creation, Green Deal alliances as well, and sanitation. And there's lots of networking, different occasions to network throughout the day, and we'll show you how to do that. And I'd like to pass this to the 2 moderators of session 5. That's Murray Biedler, who is project officer at UNESCO, and Lesha Witmer, steering committee of the Women for Water Partnership. I think, Murray, you start off, right?
Yes, I can. Just a quick recap on that, indeed, in terms of the structure. The keynotes, they'll be running 10 minutes each, and will be introduced by myself and Lesha. There will also be a short animation to follow after that on a project and program activities in Africa on human capacity development in Africa's water sector, and indeed then followed by the panelists. We don't have a Q&A session structured into this session immediately after the panelists, but that's where the breakouts are going to serve, where we can address comments and questions, following which Lesha and myself will do reports back, and then we'll have a closing at the end of the session, and we do hope you enjoy. We can start off now with the first of the keynotes, and I'll pass over to you, Lesha.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Happy to see all of you. We wanted to start off the day with a very special lady. Her name is Michela Miletto. Very recently, she has been appointed as the director of the World Water Assessment Program. And of course, she was already the coordinator of WWAP for loads and loads of activities, including, which we're all very grateful for, Michela, all the work you do for disaggregated data and indicators, and also for the women in our lives. I know you are extremely busy at the moment because the next World Water Development Report is almost there. So our appreciation is even higher than usual that you made yourself available. And I'm very proud to give you the floor for the first presentation.
Thank you, Lesha. Thank you very much for this beautiful presentation, introduction. And good morning, dear audience. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, colleagues. My presentation, we can start with the title. My presentation will focus on discussing the link between water and jobs and its domino effect. Can we go ahead with the first slides, please? Thank you. Okay. 3 out of 4 jobs that make up the entire global workforce are water dependent. This is actually one of the main findings of the 2016 edition of the United Nations World Water Development Report on Water and Jobs, which identified a clear connection between water and employment. Next, please. What does it mean? What these slogans mean? It means that jobs in water-dependent sectors make up for approximately 78% of the global workforce, respectively 42%, and you can see the slide there, in heavily water-dependent jobs. Heavily water-dependent jobs meaning direct dependency on water, like agriculture, mining, water supply and sanitation, and many types of power generation. And 36% in moderately water-dependent jobs, meaning indirect dependency on water, like construction, recreation, transportation, healthcare, and most manufacturing and transformation industries. Next, please. So that is clear that water availability is an essential element for economy and be a major source for job creation. But what happens if we don't have it? Water scarcity and disruptions in the supply of fresh water limit the growth potential for decent, high-quality jobs across the economy. So prolonged periods of water stress due to climatic extremes could jeopardize the productivities in different sectors, in particular agriculture and livestock for many countries. A decrease in productivities means food insecurity, which brings economic insecurities and eventually unemployment, especially for young generations, which in turn amplify numerous domestic and global risks, including social exclusion, discrimination, gender and age inequalities, and eventually jeopardize social stability. In this situation, migration becomes a necessity. It is the only way to adapt to climate-induced environmental stresses. The magnitude of future migration fluxes will be then related, amongst others, to the number of decent jobs created, including water-dependent jobs, especially for young population. Next, please. Studies show an important human resources gap in the water sectors, especially in the water services. Across OECD countries in particular, the gap is increasing due to an aging workforce and declining interest. On the other hand, the need for this job is very high. Reliable information concerning the current state, I mean quality, quantity, and the future scenarios of water resources is often poor and lacking, and specific metrics for water, specifically for water demand and water use by different economic sectors are rarely reported. So data are lacking, and especially the important disaggregated data concerning both water and employment domains represent a difficult challenge. There is also evidence. No, please, let's stay on the other one. Yes, the previous. Yeah, this is also evidence. There is also evidence that capacity in governmental organizations and institutions is weak in many countries and needs to be strengthened and rejuvenated to improve water-related employment opportunities. And then there is another point that I want to underline, which is the large gap in labor market participation between women and men, which is practically unchanged since 1995. And Lesha knows this well. In many parts of the world, women occupy undervalued and low-paid jobs and still shoulder responsibility for most unpaid and unrecognized care work. And now, in the face of the COVID pandemics, we all know that there is sad evidence that women burdens have been even more increased and worsened. Please, the next, please. Water investment play a role in generating and sustaining employment opportunities across all water-dependent sectors, and also have a multiplier effect as they unlock the potential for employment creation in practical all sectors. Target water investment in water supply and sanitation not only are key to reaching economic growth, but also to reaching poverty alleviation goals more effectively and also more rapidly. Next, please. To conclude, let's connect a few dots. Job opportunity could highly increase depending on the allocation of water resources to different economic sectors. This is what we said before. So then Investing in water sector is key to trigger these mechanisms. The transition towards a greener economy with its new technology, processes, and practices is creating also other opportunities for new decent jobs related to issues, to practices like wastewater recycling, renewable energy, climate change adaptations, and water use efficiency. Therefore, learning new skills and capacity is key. Indeed, adaptation to climate change can generate new employment opportunity, especially in the research and development sectors of agriculture and water-dependent industries. And this may improve the resilience of communities as individuals and reduce the need to migrate, especially of young generations. So, however, this also challenges the skills and capacity of the current workforce. Therefore, the key is again learning new skills and strengthened capacities. Next, please. And with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Michela. I think besides showing your in-depth knowledge of this, I think there were two interesting things that we have had a little novelty. One is, I think we've never really consciously revisited the World Water Development Reports. And I think it's really great to see some great work that was done show up again, because it keeps its value. So for everybody, if you still have this in your bookcase or on computer, it is really worthwhile to go back to the World Development Report 2016 and have another look. That was my first comment. And the second one is, I think it was very important also having more speakers that will speak on that today, that you stress the skills and the capacity development. And I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little bit more, because I think we're all worried that the SDG 6 and related water targets will not be met if we don't do something about it. So it's not just getting more jobs, but also getting more capacity to reach the SDGs. Would you like to comment on that a little bit?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think that this is the fundamental. It's the must that we have to focus on, and also the global acceleration framework as taking this into consideration in one of the action pillars is exactly this: to provide data and also have more capacity and strengthening the skills of specific skills. And also what I said, it is important to think that we are connected in this world. We are all connected, and we during COVID, we see it very well, how water is connected with different dimensions. First of all, the health and other dimensions, economic dimensions and social. So if we don't have the ability to face the new challenges, it will be very difficult to go ahead and to reach the SDG goals, the SDGs in time by 2030. First is to look at the capacity in terms of also of connecting the knowledge to the policies, because as we always say, we need informed decision, and this is very nice to say, but we have to build beneath these statements. And the only construction that we can do, a solid construction, is to improve knowledge.
So what you're basically also saying, maybe as a message to our friends from the European Commission, but also other professionals in the field, that if you design your programs, make sure that you also look horizontally. What is the impact on education? What is the impact on employment? If you get more informal jobs into the formal economy, your GDP goes up. So that's a big incentive. So I think one of the key messages is that we have to look at the horizontal consequences of what we want to do, both the impact of water on the jobs and the good it can do there, but also how we can make sure that in the policy, this element always shows up and not as an afterthought.
And this
I think you said exactly.
Exactly, and this is exactly what the Agenda 2030 is teaching us, to see the connection among different dimensions.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very, very much, Michela. I know you have to rush off and make sure that we get the next part of all the collective wisdom of you and water. And I hand over to Murray to introduce the next speaker. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lesha.
Thank you, Lesha. Thank you, Michela. Appreciate it very much. Right, everybody, for the next keynote, I'd like to welcome very warmly Dr. Moshood Tijani from the African Union, African Ministers' Council on Water, AMCOW. Dr. Tijani is the Groundwater Desk Officer and Climate Lead at AMCOW, based in Abuja, Nigeria, and he's charged with driving the groundwater agenda on management of sustainable utilization and management of water resources on the African continent. And he is going to present to us today the AMCOW strategy for addressing these and other issues on the African continent. Dr. Tijani, I welcome you and I invite you to please go ahead. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I sharing my screen myself? Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for the introduction. I'm presenting on behalf of AMCOW and I'm looking at the perspective for capacity building in water sector in Africa. Next slide. As a way of introduction, we know that water permeates all sectors of life and it sustains all forms of life and livelihood and well-being. Apart from that, water contributes to national development. It creates and maintains jobs in all sectors of the economy. And as you can see in the diagram, they are all sectors of their men. A lot of sectors of the economy are water dependent, as the last speaker have just mentioned. And if you summarize it, transport, construction, agriculture, fishery, forestry, energy, talk of it, all of them are water dependent. And in summary, it means that half of the global population or global workforce are one way or the other working or are engaged in water dependent sector. Next slide. So, in terms of the capacity building we are talking about, as also alluded to by the last speaker, we realize that the human capacity development we are talking about involves two things: education, training. The education generally will generate knowledge and information. The training will enhance the skill and competence. And if all these tools have enabling environment and organizational incentive, definitely this will lead to effective productivity and service delivery. And translating that into the water sector, it means we need institutional and policy strengthening. We need human resources capacity development. By the time you have these two things, definitely we'll have what we call sustainable development and utilization in groundwater sector. So next slide, please. And looking at that from that, it means that there is need for investment in water sector, since it's going to generate a lot of jobs. And what are these benefits of investment in water sectors? Improve water supply and sanitation definitely will contribute to poverty eradication, economic development, and well-being of the populace. It will also improve resources management, and it will boost capital development of country and economic growth. It will improve water resources management and also improve water supply for agricultural production, which invariably means food security. Investment in water sector will definitely also contribute to water supply and will increase significantly industrial sectors. Because many industrial sectors are also dependent on water. So, and that will increase in economic productivity. But then with all these benefits, the big question is, how do we improve this water supply and sanitation without capacity building and training? How do we do that without public and private sector finance or investment? So definitely we need these two things together if we want to realize the benefit of this water sector and how it contributes to job and economic development. So therefore, political will and the recognition of the fact that investment in both capacity and infrastructure in water sector they are going to be a good business. If you have to look at them as good business, and that political will to make sure that these sectors is properly financed and invested on. Next slide, please. Click the next button so that we'll see the other one. Next button, please. Now, if you look at it from this perspective, we realize that the priority of AMCOW in terms of capacity building that we are talking about focus on 6 key areas. The priority area of AMCOW in terms of capacity building. We look at the curriculum review and training and the trainers' capacity building. Technology-driven transformative learning is one of the key areas that we are looking at. Then investment in research and innovation in higher education is key. And also we have to invest in technology and adapted infrastructure and adapted technology. So inclusive gender and youth involvement is also key. Those are the focal areas. And finally, we know that what is important is the policy and decision maker. We need to enhance the capacity of this policy and decision maker. Also in understanding why the investment in this sector is important. And these are actually all in line with the mandate of the AMCOW, which is to support the member states to develop and manage and utilize water resources to assure food energy security in Africa. Next slide, please. Now, further contribution of AMCOW, this AMCOW strategy in terms of the capacity building are based on 3 components. Number 1, policy and institutional strengthening. The second one is tools and means of technical solution. And then the third one is capacity building, which we are talking about. And based on all these things, the Upper Growth Program, which is one of the flagship programs of AMCOW, is having 6 action group or action area of thematic working group. And these are about policy and governance strengthening, is about country support management tool, is about capacity strengthening, which is the core of this talk, and then it's about knowledge management and knowledge of, and it's about resource assessment and mapping of the water resources. And finally, it's also about how do we encourage public and private finance in groundwater sector and other area of water sector. Next slide, please. Now, looking further, based on the upper group and the capacity building and the AMCOW, overall AMCOW capacity building program. The idea is that if you have successful capacity development, it will imply effective human capability and it will mean better institutions and all will ensure adequate water management. So that is why managing the capacity on one side, knowledge management on one side as part of the AMCOW strategy, we know that will enhance the access of members, states to information and to capacity development. And based on this, our capacity and knowledge management unit launched recently our website where we create knowledge of. We are part of the capacity development is also to provide knowledge management. And this knowledge management enhance the capacity of member states. Next slide, please. Now, moving forward, what are the recommendations that we can put off? National water education and international cooperation and co-creation of water and groundwater knowledge is very important. Education capacity building with respect to surface water and groundwater resilience under climate change We need to look at that because the impact of climate change is real and it's also affecting the water resources. Education in this direction is also key, and capacity building. Then promoting open peer learning between national government to improve the capacity of education in water resources is also key. Increasing finance, as I mentioned, is key. Remote and e-learning tools is also a very critical method of capacity development, especially in this case of a COVID era of social distancing. Of course, we need to ensure multidisciplinary training in water-related capacity. And finally, we have to create short courses in water management for policymakers, senior managers, and so on. And I know UNESCO is doing a lot in these areas of programs in short courses and training programs in water resources management, including groundwater. So final slides, please. So moving forward, we believe in AMCOW that what is key is collaboration. AMCOW cannot do it alone. We need international partner. We need collaboration. And if you look at the SDGs that was mentioned previously, the capacity building is the core of the SDG 6 as expanded in SDG 6A, which means expand international cooperation and capacity building support to developing countries, in this case, African countries, in water and sanitation related activities and programs. This is the key, and this area is where we need that collaboration and support in capacity building. And that will also means we need to enhance financing of the knowledge base in capacity building. We need all level involvement. We need partnership and support. Transformational educational and training program is needed. Of course, technology transfer is also key. And these are the policy recommendations that we think that AMCOW is basing its capacity building agenda. With this, I want to say thank you for your attention, and AMCOW is looking forward for more collaboration and support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moshood. That was very, very interesting. I especially appreciate the identification or the highlighting of the multi-sectoral needs in terms of not just water resources management, but in the earlier part of your presentation, you mentioned agricultural sector, issues of food security. There are issues of energy related, can be linked also to transport. And even later, as you mentioned, part of the education and distance learning, you're also identifying the need for distance e-learning and the public health issue of the day, which is clearly the pandemic, which we're all confronted with. Could you comment a little bit more on that, on that aspect of things? Over.
Yeah, I think the key thing is that in this COVID era of COVID-19 and pandemic, e-learning program, I think, should be one of the focus of getting this message of capacity building and training to people. Of course, we know there are some aspects where face-to-face, hand-on learning, practical learning may be indispensable, but at least using alternative e-learning and remote learning system that can reach as many people as possible will be our priority in Africa, to be able to get many people on board. And that will be a cost-effective way of training and skill acquisition. So at least in this era of COVID-19. Of course, we need the support of the international partner, development partner, in making sure that the impact of such trainings goes down to the different member states, and the impact is to be felt in enhancing the water sector. Once we enhance the capacity in water sector, then we create job and we create development. And we can relate it to all what we mentioned. Water underlines everything. If you have good water, if you have secure water, it will enhance water security, it will promote good health, eradicate poverty. It can sustain food industry. Agriculture without water, I always say, food security without water security is impossible. So we have to look at it from that angle. So once we address this issue of water, we generate a lot of other side effects will fall in, which will mean the overall economic development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, thank you very much for that. And it's greatly appreciated. We hope to hear more from you later if you're available to join us
Yeah,
in
of course.
the
I'll be
breakouts.
available. Thank you.
All right, okay, thank you very much. I think we can move on to the next item on our agenda, which is a very short animation of the human capacity development activities in the water sector in Africa, partly thanks to the mandates of the African Ministers' Council on Water and our partners in Africa in collaboration also with UNESCO and European Commission. We can move now to the video, I believe, and our technicians will be on that.
The following initiative is supported by the European Commission's Joint Research Centre in collaboration with the UNESCO International Hydrological Programme and the NEPAD networks of water centres of excellence. More than a quarter of the population in parts of Africa do not have sufficient access to safe water and sanitation. In some critical areas, this number is more than half. Years of work have gone into improving delivery, acquiring finance, and training people in the water sector, all of which are necessary to provide sustainable access to water and sanitation. We now know how to sustainably address the challenges of delivery and finance, but the most difficult challenge remains. There are not sufficient people, engineers, technicians, trainers and management who have the right skills and capacities to do their job. How many people are needed? We don't know. Which specific skills and capacities are required? We don't know because there is no reliable information on what and how large these gaps in human capacity actually are. This problem grew to such an extent that in 2013, the African Union and the African Ministers for Water announced the need to create a Human Capacity Development Programme. This task was given to the African Union's NEPAD networks of water centres of excellence. The Water Centres of Excellence are universities and research institutions in different regions of Africa who, with the support from the European Union and in collaboration with UNESCO, are identifying and addressing the main gaps in human capacity. The Centres of Excellence are therefore analysing existing information, conducting surveys, and consulting a wide range of stakeholders, including government representatives, educational institutions and local services, consumers, public health authorities, and actors within the private sector. With support from African governments and in partnership with African universities and training institutions, UNESCO and the Centres of Excellence are developing programs to provide the missing professional, technical, and vocational skills and capacities to men and women entering the water sector. By addressing these gaps in human capacity, people will be able to put infrastructure and finances to work more effectively in the water sector and provide more sustainable access to water and sanitation for people on the continent.
Thank you very much, Murray and Dr. Moshood, and thank you, Murray, for the nice video. Now you have to do a little bit of work as participants. We will show you a poll in Zoom where you can give a few answers to a few questions we have. And you're, I think, actually allowed to give more than one answer. And what we will do later on is we will look at your answers now, and after our whole session, if we have enough time, we will ask the question again and see if we changed your minds. So please go ahead and submit your answers to the questions that are now on the screen. I'm not sure this is this working? Okay, if you still want to answer, then please do so now. And we will come back to the polls later in this session. So what we'll do now is we'll start with the panel discussion. Again, if you would like to have another look at the bios of our speakers and who are there today, there is a link in the chat box that brings you right into all the biographies that we have online. And I hand over to Murray to start us off with the first panel participants.
Hey, Lesha, thank you very much for that. And I'm very interested to see the results of the first poll. The first presentation coming up will be from Erna van der Werf and Piet Hoekstra. There we go. Knowledge and education, key to capacity development. I'm okay with that. Right. Okay. Excellent. So we have Erna and Piet Hoekstra. They are part of a project which is a platform of vocational excellence. It's piloting. Welcome, Peter, and welcome, Erna. Peter's a program manager at CIV in the Netherlands, and he specializes in process thinking and change management, innovative education. Erna is managing director at Learning Hub of the Friesland Foundation and has a long expertise in EU cooperation, EU project management, educational material development. So I hand over to you. Please go ahead. Over.
Thank you very much. In the next 8 minutes, we'll introduce to you our educational project on vocational excellence in the water sector. We share the outcomes of the project so far, but we also need your help. Are you interested in being a part of this project, also beyond Europe, or want to test your level of vocational excellence? Join us in the breakout sessions. And we will use Slido to ask you some questions to have more insights in your situation. And during our presentation, you'll find the link to Slido in the chat. Next slide, please. I don't see my presentation yet. Yes, next slide, please. This was my introduction. Our journey started in 2018, and this was the moment when we, CIV Water, realized that if we want to educate the future water sector professional that the emergent water sector needs, we need to develop certain skills and attitudes from vocational students in the water-related education. International experiences can strengthen these skills and competences. And in addition, we as an organization also need to broaden our horizon and learn from other countries and regions. Lessons learned across Europe can help us with the challenges that we face today. The Dutch partners, the one at the top, CIV Vitens, Catapult and Learning Hub Friesland, get together, discussed and tapped into the network, and not so long after, a European cooperation was born. You see the other partners also available on our screen. And we made sure that the ambition to educate the future professionals that our rapid changing water sector needed. Next slide, please. So back to our mission. We educate the future sector professional that the emerging water sector needs. In Europe, the water sector faces several challenges. Besides increasing periods of drought and the transition towards a circular economy, the water sector labor market is dealing with an aging workforce. And how can we make sure that the current workforce is keeping up with the rapid innovations in the sector? And how can we promote the water sector as one of the top sectors for youth to work in? So how do we educate our environmental aware, agile professionals with highly developed 21st century competences and skills? That's our challenge. Erna.
Yes, thank you, Peter. So yes, how do we achieve our aim? One important aspect is that we believe that vocational education needs a strong position in the regional innovation ecosystems in the water sector in Europe to strengthen the sector. For us in our project, the first important step was to create a close understanding of the skills ecosystem of the water sector in each country, and also gaining intimate knowledge about the economical and also societal challenges and needs that they face. So by making a context scan of each country involved, we have provided a very strong basis to build the Centers of Vocational Excellence Water on. So if you are interested in the scanning, your regional level of vocational excellence, please go to our website and click on the vocational excellence scanning tools, because we share them with the whole public, and we hope that other regions will make use of it as well. So our project is designed really to create this infrastructure that is necessary to embed vocational excellence in the water sector in Europe, thus laying the grounds for future curriculum development on vocational level. And also, obviously, consequently, developing the competences of students. So we do this by, as I said, by setting up the regional centers of vocational excellence, but maybe even more important, we unite them under one umbrella of our platform of vocational excellence water. And now we are in the process of jointly creating this upscaling strategy. So we really want to look beyond Europe as well. The spot on the horizon that we foresee really involves key messages like hybrid teachers. I don't know if you've heard of the term, but that's basically teachers that are teaching students in the classroom, but also maybe part of their week they really work in water companies or water boards, or really have grounds in the industry. So that's really important in our projects. We also really want to work on enhancing the reputation of the water sector. Increase student numbers in water-related education. And also, very concretely, we just want to organize these water weeks that students can join, and even international water summer schools for students. Another big ambition that we have is creating educational material through a digital EU-wide online platform. And we intend to really work with augmented reality, HoloLenses, virtual reality, so we can really attract students to it and make a sort of library of experiences for them. So Peter also mentioned that we are upscaling our initiative. We are looking for partners beyond Europe. So I'm really, a message to you is to join us in the breakout sessions. Next slide, and I'm giving the word back to Peter.
Thank you very much, Erna. As you can see, we have the map of Europe with our regional partners. And we're covering quite a lot of Europe, but we'd like to have a connection to more partners, more countries in Europe and also beyond Europe. So that's one of our challenges in our upscaling. But for now, we are facing all kinds of challenges in each region, thinking about drought, flooding, freshwater, and skilled workforce. So we tried to have cooperation and helping each region with developing a cover water, focusing on the relevant issues in the region. And we'll do that in close collaboration with skills ecosystem partners such as companies and education providers. And each region has a regional captain in the lead. And given the variety of the region, there's no one solution fits all to applies to all regions. So at the same time, we are in continuous dialogue with the 5 regions to identify lessons learned, opportunities for collaboration, sharing resources, and creating new opportunities among the centers, making the whole more than the sum of its parts. Next slide, please. By having all partners conducting the vocational excellence scan, we could see here some regions could benefit from the expertise and knowledge from other regions. In our breakout session, we would like to discuss with you how your vocational excellence is organized and how you might cooperate with us in the future. Next slide, Erna.
Peter, you have less than a minute left.
We're almost finished, Lesha. Thank you. Are there any results from our Slido, or if not, then we can use this in our breakout session, and then we have Next slide, please. We have one slide left. This will be our last. We thank you for your attention and we hope to see you in the breakout session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter and Erna. I found the presentation very interesting in that it places a very strong emphasis on technical vocational education and training, which is not necessarily how it is development and moving on with professionals in future is usually perceived as higher education, engineers, et cetera, et cetera. So that's quite refreshing and it's an interesting trend to follow. And also in terms of the point you made on linking up with private sector and industry for trainings, et cetera. Now 46% in the original poll show that that is clearly an issue. So thank you very much for that. We need to move on to the next presentation, and it is with Antonella Vagliente and with Young Water Solutions. Antonella, we've known each other for a number of years, and we've both been watching the growth and evolution of Young Water Solutions, and it certainly bloomed under your stewardship. So thank you very much. Young Water Solutions is an international NGO in Belgium that supports the development of young generation entrepreneurs in middle-income countries to water and sanitation issues. And to hear more about that, I'll pass it over to Anto.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today with you and share a little bit of what we do concerning the creation of decent jobs and the solution of water and sanitation issues through promoting youth-led entrepreneurship. So I'm going to share with you first with the Young Water Fellowship Program, that is our flagship program, and then some case studies that we can consider to reflect a bit more on this statement. Next slide, please. As Mary was saying, Young Water Solutions is an NGO based in Brussels, but working in low and middle income countries with the mission of supporting young entrepreneurs, make a difference in their communities and solve water and sanitation issues. For us, young generations are key stakeholders, not only when it comes to decision making, but also when it comes to like an empowerment for concrete solutions on the ground. And this is what we've been doing since 2015. In this line, in 2017, we created the Young Water Fellowship Program. That is an incubation program that provides what for us are the enabling conditions for these young creative entrepreneurs to be able to validate, to pilot their solutions and create social businesses with those. So it's a one-year support program. Next slide, please. That provides this training, mentorship, and funding to these entrepreneurs. Next slide. We start, I'm sorry for the formatting issues that you cannot fully see all words there, but we start with an outreach and a call for applications to identify these entrepreneurs that fit our criteria the most. We select those that we will work with for an entire year, and we invite them to fully funded startup training to help them shape their business models. This is not only a business training, even if most of the content is focused on business and how they can have a long-term strategy to keep funds flowing, to create employment, to have their product or their service delivered to communities, but also we work on integrated water resources management. We help our entrepreneurs have an integrated perspective on water. We help them add a gender approach to their businesses. So for us, this capacity building is key to make sure that the social businesses that we're helping build are really tick all the boxes in terms of SDGs. And after that, and because we know that technical support and business support is not enough to validate, to pilot, and to launch a business, we provide them seed funding of up to 5,000 euros each, so that they can try the solution and prove the impact that they claim. During that time, we coach them, we mentor them, we match them with mentors according to their needs, and connect them with other enablers that can take them further after they pilot. Next slide. You can see here some pictures of the trainings that we do. We work with a water startup incubator in Switzerland that's called CEWAS. And in the bottom right corner, you actually see one of our fellows after her pilot. This is Ana Becerra from Brazil. She was there piloting the Soris-based filters that she creates with her business, sanitation, safe drinking water for all. Next slide. Just to talk a little bit about the scope of what we do. We have run 3 global editions of this program, and now our focus is on regional and national level. So we have implemented this program in East Africa. Now we're doing it in Ivory Coast and Senegal, and launching the first regional edition in Latin America, thanks to our partners, as you see there, especially the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation that has been with us for the first time. If we consider all the entrepreneurs that we have supported that have more or less finished or almost finished their 1-year cycle, we've supported 39 entrepreneurs from 22 countries, and thanks to their pilot projects, they've been able to impact over 30,000 people just with their pilot, just with a small scale project to test their solution. So now I would like to turn to 2 cases just to illustrate how what we're doing is not only to solve water and sanitation issues, but also to create decent employment. And in this case, you can see one of our first fellows, Yvette Ishimwe from Rwanda. She participated in our first edition in 2017, and she was only 20 years old. At that moment, she had created a small water kiosk that then she had to close due to legal problem with local authorities. But she came to us with the idea of really creating a business that could provide safe drinking water to rural communities and to urban communities in Rwanda. You can see there photos of the training. That was a social entrepreneurship session in Brussels. And after that, we gave her, thanks to Avina Foundation, 5,000 euros for the pilot project, which was a water kiosk that could pump the water from a spring using solar energy and deliver it to the community. 3 years later, so this was in 2018 that she did the pilot, so even less than 3 years later, she has a business that gives employment to permanently to about 20 people and 15-16 other people part-time. She not only has a water kiosk, she has also water filters that she sells to urban areas. She gives water to schools. She has water ATMs in different parts of the city, in Kigali. And she's been able to impact over 50,000 people in these 2.5-3 years. So for us, I mean, this is a clear example to illustrate how investing not only in big infrastructure and breakthrough technologies, but also local initiatives with a social business perspective, led by local people, in this case, young people, can have really a huge impact when it comes to job creation. Of course, not all entrepreneurs can, in such a short time, have this impact. It depends also, some other businesses are less labor intensive, but most of them can really engage people at community level with decent jobs. Next slide, please, which is our last slide, because I know I'm running out of time. This is another case, actually, more recent, Saidi from Burundi. He participated in our first regional edition in East Africa. He came to a training in Uganda. He had started to make soap as a business, soap and other hygiene products. And with only 3,000 euros that he got a seed funding to get the certificate to be able to sell his products in the markets and in pharmacies, he's now employing six people permanently, and he focuses on disabled people. He has a disability himself, so he likes to give employment opportunity to disabled people, and they produce over 3,500 bars of soap weekly to sell to over 2,000 people. And this has been, for each of these entrepreneurs, we it has costed us less than 15,000 euros to train them in an in-person training of 2 weeks, to give them coaching for an entire year, to give them seed funding, and this goes a very long way in terms of providing a solution to water, sanitation, and hygiene needs to the community, and also creating employment. Next and last slide. Thank you, everyone, and I look forward to discussing more about this with you in the breakout rooms.
Thank you very much for that, Antonella. Very, very nice presentation, and very interesting for you to present and describe how setting up an enabling environment, providing opportunity in the terms of training and seed funding can have a real impact on the number of beneficiaries in youth who have the energy and ability and the capacity to do so. So thank you very much for that. Now we're going to move on to the next component of the panel, the next two speakers. I'll hand over to Lesha with the two panelists, and you can introduce the overall thematic, and we'll move on. Lesha, over to you.
Yes, hello everybody, back again. I think our next speaker is actually very appropriate looking at what Antonella just said, because I think in his heart, one of the main components of the program that the Union for the Mediterranean is running is actually looking at employment and entrepreneurship of young people. And I think that's the policy angle we need. Almotaz Abadi is the managing director of the water unit of the Union for the Mediterranean. He's been in that job for quite a while, and before that he worked extensively in his native country, Palestine, but also in the Middle East. He really knows what he's talking about, and he is very passionate in the way he runs the programs. Of course, what helps is that there is a working group, WWAP, but I'm sure you're going to talk about that as well, also looking at what Michela was telling us this morning. So Almotaz, I give you the floor, my friend.
Thank you very much, Lesha, for this introduction. I am very glad to be with you, and I find it a little bit difficult to speak after my previous fellow. But we will give another perspective, the perspective coming from a regional Mediterranean area, focusing on the MENA region, as well as in our work in the Union for the Mediterranean, related to the Water Policy Framework of Action, which is a policy document that been agreed at political and technical level in the Mediterranean since 2017. And the main objective is to look at the water as a catalyzer for cooperation, as a catalyzer and engine for economic development, because for the Union for the Mediterranean, the soul of our work is the enhancing the regional cooperation, as well as enhancing the socio-economic reality of our citizen in the Mediterranean, even though the Mediterranean region is one of the main challenging when it comes to the environment, when it comes to the political issue, when it comes to the climate change. As you know, that the Union for the Mediterranean based on Barcelona, and we are 42 member states, all the EU member states, the 26, plus all other 15 CMED countries, Southeastern Mediterranean, from Morocco, actually from Mauritania, Morocco, until Egypt, and then we go to Palestine, Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, and all other 3 Western Balkan. So the work that I am going to present is not based on only scientific approach. It was a scientific approach, but the strength of it, as mentioned by Lesha and my colleague from UNESCO WWAP, Michela, it is owned by the member state. It is owned by the policymakers, and it was a contribution of different organizations such as UNESCO, such as WWAP, such as WWP, such as the Women for Water Partnership, United Nations, and many other international organizations working in the region, including World Bank, AIB, EBRD, AFD. And this happened under the leadership of the European Union, EAS, as well as DG NIR and the co-leadership of the Jordanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Water when it comes to the structure of the Union for the Mediterranean. Today, the forecast will come with one of piece of document that we had produced December 2020 as a response to see how we implement the chapter on the water employment migration as per the WFWP water policy framework. All of these documents are available in our website or are available also by the website of Water and Beyond, as we had shared them with everybody. So the study was focused on the angle related to the opportunity and challenge for preparing Mediterranean youth. And it had been also the most important part of the study that had been also implemented by young people, implemented through a company called the Green Tech, but the team leader was Lindsay, the head of the Parliament of Young Parliament for Water, as well as a young organization leader from Lebanon, in cooperation with the young, most of the youth active organization in the Mediterranean through a tool. So the issue that in MENA region, it was as you know that we have more than 2 million young people between age 18 and 24. However, at the same time, the study tells us also and confirm what existing that more than 30% are unemployed. And add to this reality two things: the crisis related to the climate change, as the Mediterranean is one of the hotspot, and we start witnessing the changes. And if you can see, the MEDIC report had confirmed that we are the second in line after the Arctic. Add to it the new challenge related to the pandemic and COVID-19. And when it comes to our work and the organization, everything is valid because the Union for the Mediterranean Water Policy Framework of Action was looking for nexus as well as identify WASH and tackling it from the youth perspective. Please, next slide. So the key result that also linked the stimulus packages from the Union, the European Union, as well as the stimulus package at different national states in the Mediterranean, especially when it comes to the COVID, as well as the financial support for the wash sector, and how also to ensure the supply chain of material, as well as to keep this facility functioning even when it comes to the teleworking, as well as the issue related to the financial sustainability, and to keep water and wash sector into the top of the priority at the political level to keep the water running for hospital and to provide the hygiene and public aspect. Next, please. So in the study, so we got some aspect related to the data science for water conservation, development model in water usages, and we discuss how also young people should be engaged at social platform and water user association to achieve the goal. Next, please. This is we can avoid it. So the next, please. I already passed those things. Next. Okay. So the study had also bring the youth perception on skill required for water, jobs, and the future. So the thing that has technical skill included in the package, also other skills that were lacked in the study, that including creativity, critical thinking, interpersonal and international experience, ability to work in a group, as well as leadership and communication and language issues. As you see that water had been identified as a catalyzer for cooperation, so you need to focus on this dimension of bringing young people into the loop to be able to speak the same language that those international actors, including the funding mechanism, are putting on a place, including GCF, GIF, and
Almotaz,
other international organizations.
Can I
Yeah.
ask you to conclude, please?
Okay, so in the study we had also come to this is the last two things that we need to have support the entrepreneurship in 2020 and beyond, including technology-based startups, as well as those focus on agricultural production, innovation in business, blue economy, circular economy aspect. Also, it had been identified that the role of system thinking and understanding the interconnection between water and other interconnected sector was absolutely highlighted by the young people in order to enable them to enter the job market. The role of the volunteering and community engagement, including youth parliament, as mentioned by our great friend from the Young Water Solution, they have to be empowered. Some policy recommendation also had been developed that the organization like mine and like yours, they have to work together. I saw those, many of them mentioned on the ball that run on the first of this session. So the issue encouraging academic private sector to match make between the water need and the skill required. And also I will be happy to thank you very much, Lesha. I will be happy to interact more with in the breakout session. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Almotaz. You didn't you lived up to my expectation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just go on very quickly because we're running a little bit behind. And introduce Cesar Camuna. He is from the European Commission, the Joint Research Center, team leader for water management in developing countries. And he's worked there for quite a while already, and acts also as a coordinator for the centers that produced, amongst other things, one of the very nice videos that we showed earlier. César, without further ado, I give you the floor.
Bien, merci beaucoup. Je vais m'adresser à vous en français. Et donc, je vous demande de passer à la présentation. Donc, avant tout, je voulais remercier les organisateurs, vous remercier Lesha et Mouraï de m'avoir invité et pour partager ces quelques réflexions sur le travail que nous sommes en train de développer dans les pays en développement et plus concrètement en Afrique. Donc, comme vous le savez, donc je vais vous présenter donc les concepts de Nexus et le développement des capacités comme concept et moyen de soutenir le développement économique durable et l'emploi et la création d'emplois. Donc, vous savez aussi que parmi les défis les plus importants pour le développement et la conception se trouve l'identification des mesures d'adaptation appropriées et opportunes dans ce contexte qui est l'Afrique qui évolue d'une manière très, très rapide. Donc, cela oblige à une coopération entre les différents secteurs qui doivent avancer de manière cohérente et harmonieuse. Et donc ça nous oblige à établir les liens intersectoriels pour atteindre les objectifs de développement durable. Donc c'est ça, et ceci est particulièrement vrai dans les cadres des bassins transfrontaliers où, à part cet équilibre qu'il doit y avoir dans le développement des différents secteurs, il y a également l'équilibre qu'il doit avoir entre le développement des différents pays qui doivent partager ou qui partagent ces ressources. Donc, diapo suivante, s'il vous plaît. Diapo suivante, s'il vous plaît. Voilà. Donc, je vais très rapidement vous présenter donc les processus qui, d'une manière très pratique, abordent ces liens entre les différents secteurs. Donc, c'est un procès vraiment qui a une nature vraiment très pratique, très accroché à la réalité du terrain, de manière à fournir des développements, des plans de développement stratégiques et des plans d'investissement avec des mesures concrètes de développement. Donc, ceci est fondamental, commencer par une phase d'évaluation de la situation courante dans les pays ou dans les bassins transfrontaliers qui doit être amenée de pair, c'est-à-dire ensemble, avec l'identification et des priorités de développement dans la région. Donc, cela nous amène alors à aborder donc, la compréhension sur les différents secteurs, la compréhension des différentes problématiques de chacun des secteurs, de manière à pouvoir identifier ou établir quelles sont les différentes interactions qui vont réagir entre ces différents secteurs, de manière à pouvoir établir des collaborations concrètes ou éventuellement des compromis qui doivent être abordés dans les cas où il y a des objectifs qui peuvent être en concurrence. Donc, et finalement, ça nous amène à la phase finale qui est les dialogues nexus, et les phases précédentes doivent forcément forcément mettre sur la table de ces dialogues qui ont lieu avec les décideurs politiques et les différents acteurs de la société civile, avec des scénarios de développement concrets qui seront discutés dans ces tables de dialogue. Donc, cela doit nous amener à établir des développements stratégiques, mais également à établir une planification d'investissement et des mesures de développement. Donc, comme vous les voyez, donc, ces mesures de développement sont à la base d'un développement économique durable et vraiment à la création d'emplois. Donc, slide suivant, s'il vous plaît. Donc, slide suivant. Voilà, donc ça, ce sont les différents bassins dans lesquels nous sommes en train de travailler avec nos partenaires, c'est-à-dire ce sont les organisations des bassins en Afrique. Donc, il y a également les communautés économiques régionales avec lesquelles on est en partenariat, mais il y a également l'AMCOW, c'est-à-dire les ministres africains de l'eau, le secrétariat exécutif avec qui on a un lien vraiment très direct. Donc, ces projets sont en train, ces études sont en train d'être menées en étroite collaboration avec les centres d'excellence en eau en Afrique. Et donc avec nos collègues de l'UNESCO pour ce qui concerne les aspects plus liés au développement des capacités. Donc je ne vais pas trop m'attarder là-dessus, probablement ça pourrait donner lieu à des discussions sur les sessions parallèles. Donc, diapo suivant, s'il vous plaît. Donc, ça, c'est un autre concept que je voulais mettre sur la table, c'est la digitalisation comme un soutien pour la transition verte. Donc, vous avez vu que dans les processus que j'ai présentés des développements multisectoriels, une collaboration multisectorielle, il est important de développer ces connaissances, de créer ces connaissances et de faire des analyses et de traiter ces données et de partager ces données avec l'ensemble des acteurs. Donc, dans les cadres des projets que j'ai mentionnés tout à l'heure, il y a eu un travail très spécifique que nous avons réalisé avec UNESCO et les centres d'excellence comme réponse au Covid, dans lesquels, effectivement, l'enseignement à distance et les e-learning ont
César, une minute, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je suis en train de finir. Merci beaucoup. Donc, il y a un rôle fondamental. Donc, slide final, s'il vous plaît. Donc, cette slide, ça présente de manière vraiment très synthétique, vraiment très simple, c'est-à-dire parce que le système, il est vraiment très complexe, et les différentes relations que nous, on considère qu'on doit avoir avec les différents acteurs. Donc, dans lesquels vous voyez que la science, c'est-à-dire la recherche, est un mécanisme, c'est un moteur de développement des connaissances, mais que ces mécanismes de développement des connaissances ont un sens que si on répond à des besoins et à des priorités concrètes venant des acteurs politiques, mais également venant du secteur privé dans lequel on doit vers lesquels on doit faire ces transferts de technologies. Donc l'académie et d'autres plateformes comme celles qu'on a évoquées précédemment sont là pour s'approprier de cette connaissance qui est développée à l'intérieur de la science et de la recherche, de manière à pouvoir former ces professionnels, ces futurs professionnels, ces futurs politiciens qui vont permettre de faire des implémentations de services concrètes. Il est clair qu'il doit y avoir une rétroalimentation, une alimentation du secteur privé et du secteur politique vers l'académie, de manière à pouvoir bénéficier et toujours actualiser la formation de ces jeunes qui vont aborder de manière réaliste l'emploi dans l'avenir. Donc, avec ceci, je vous remercie.
Merci bien, très bien, César, pour cette très importante information. I hope we will have another opportunity to discuss further. Okay, now I hear the translator, although I shouldn't. No, it's off, but it's okay. We're very quickly going to the breakout groups. If you look at the chat box, you will see two links. One for breakout group number 1, governance and policy, and one for knowledge and skills. We will divide our esteemed speakers over these two breakout groups, and Mari will be in breakout group 2, I will be in 1. Unfortunately, we only have 10 minutes for the breakout group, and it will not be possible to provide translation because of the very short duration. If necessary, Mari or I will try and do a little bit less formal translation. So I invite you to click on one of the two groups that you think you're most interested in, and come back to us after 10 minutes. Then there will be a connection again in the chat box how you can get back to the plenary. Il y a très petite pour le discours dans le breakout group. Alors, ce n'est pas possible de faire de traduction, mais quand nécessaire, Marie au moins will faire une attente to ensure que vous comprenez.
On va le faire impeccablement.
Voilà, c'est ça, Marie. So please go to your breakout group now, and we'll have 10 minutes for that to address whatever issue you want to break on the table, but maybe not for everything we want to discuss, but that can be later.
OK, à bientôt tout le monde, numéro 2. Au revoir.